You're watching Public Comment, a vlog by Sean O'Connor, which focuses on politics, culture, and self. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're having a fantastic day. So yesterday, the New York Times reported that the Trump administration announced they're going to hold what they call an economic workshop in Bahrain, hoping that their contribution to an improved Palestinian economy will lead to a friendlier approach to Israel. Meanwhile, the Trump administration appears to lean towards a pro-Israel one-state solution, as President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is on record as saying, "Let's just not say two states. God forbid, and no pun intended." This unreasonableness here, and the bias, though, it's terribly blatant. Not that I'm in love with a so-called two-state solution. I have many reservations about this. However, my opposition to a two-state solution in the long term is of the unconventional sort. I do understand a case for cynicism that Israel and the Palestinians could ever live in a secular, cosmopolitan democracy. The recent violence in Gaza, the worst breakout of violence in 5 years, as has been widely reported, is ample proof that both sides of this conflict are deep in the thickness of zealous, indignant nationalism. But that is the root of the problem, ladies and gentlemen: nationalism. Thus, a two-state solution is at the very best a temporary band-aid, and a cheap one at that, ready to fall off the first time you wash your hands, because it just doesn't address this notion that the Israelis and the Palestinians simply can't coexist beyond ethnicity, beyond nation, beyond race, and beyond religion, in a spirit of tolerance and real representative democracy. Still, that being said, if there is to be a Jewish-Israeli state, I think it would only be fair that there be a Palestinian Muslim state as well. But I must reiterate, logically, this is not a viable long-term plan. And frankly, this whole nationalism thing is becoming a real serious global problem, which the Trump administration is only making worse. I believe we need to start re-examining a cosmopolitan and globalist philosophy that we ought to discuss. Just like states in a union can be laboratories for democracy, as the expression goes, why can't countries be seen as such as well? We're all humans, and our anxieties over resources will only grow more complicated as the economy evolves. And what is this going to look like, by the way? I've been thinking a lot about the media industry and academia, for example, and what the internet means longer term, as things have been evolving over the last decade or so. For example, what does it mean now that podcasts and smaller internet media organizations, whether through social media or cheap ads, no one wants cheap ads, we want good ads, right? Whether through social media or cheap apps, as they emerge, with the means for them to develop getting cheaper, with the means of their growing exposure to more people getting cheaper, and their willingness to produce so much without making very much money, persisting, more and more people are gaining access to more information for free. There are a lot of benefits to this. More people are self-actualizing, expressing themselves, learning more, developing the sophistication of their productivity. However, media and academia, as we know it, are also, it would seem, hemorrhaging in a way. No, don't get me wrong, I'm not worried about Amazon, Jeff Bezos, Comcast, NBC, Netflix. However, there is a massive economic shakeup going on. And it's not just the way information and technology are shaking up academia and the media. For example, what are we to say about China's Huawei innovation of a 5G network? How that all plays into this. Frankly, considering how we know China doesn't believe in free speech and how they imprison millions of Uyghurs in the northwestern province of China in Xinjiang just for being Muslims, if this is the same China that's going to buy more and more cell phone parts from US companies, could they manage to shake up so-called American values in such a way that those benefiting from Chinese subsidized technology ultimately choose to preserve their way of life? I mean, their money and business, regardless of any bad intentions China might have with the use of this marvelous technology. Don't doubt it, ladies and gentlemen. We've seen how money and power corrupted a nationalistic Trump coalition Republican Party. What's my point? I'm not trying to fearmonger about China or offer a paranoid nightmare dystopian vision. And you might ask, wouldn't Chinese influence over a nationalistic US agenda lead to more globalism? Since there would be cooperation between China and US parties here, I guess the question I have to ask is, would it? Or could it lead to complex cyber conflicts, playing on our economic anxieties and vulnerabilities, exacerbated by competing nationalistic drives? The point that all this nationalism feeds into the anxiety, perpetuates the anxiety. It's one thing to talk about nationalism versus globalism in the abstract. I get that. That's only going to go so far. I believe there needs to be more conversation and more assertive conversation about anti-nationalistic policies. I mean more globalism, the calling for more aggressive cooperation between the Palestinians and the Israelis, with the endgame ultimately being a secular, cosmopolitan, one-state solution. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to what I had to say today, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye.